Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again a great pleasure. And first, I must introduce myself. My name is Milton Blake. It's a pleasure being here. You may, if you're a radio listener, hear my radio show on a Sunday, 4 to 6, the musical triangle, on 88.1. Obviously, I'm not there today because I had to be here and someone else is running the show. We want to, before we go forward, though, express our appreciation to the mayor of Milton, who was here earlier. He was here for quite a while and waiting for the proceedings to begin. Unfortunately, we were late in starting, and the Mayor Gordon Krantz, has asked me to convey his regret that he's not here to welcome you personally in an official way, like from this stage. However, he has asked me, and he has asked me as well, to convey his welcome. And the best way I can think of doing that, out of respect for the fact he was here so long, is to read his message. Since everyone does not have a copy of the program, just a few people, what the mayor said about this event, and that I believe would be a fitting tribute to the mayor's blessings. July the 2nd, 2000, the Corporation of the Town of Milton, 43 Brown Street, Milton, Ontario, Canada. The Mayor Krantz says, the Town of Milton is honored to receive the Honorable Dr. Louise Bennett Coverley, OJ, and Winston Meritone Blake, OD, to the Farm Museum on the occasion of Canada Salutes Icons 2000. This celebration of Caribbean heritage has special focus on youth, family, and community. Canada's future is dependent on its investment in people, and it is appropriate to celebrate our achievements in a spirit of mutual respect and understanding. The town of Milton is a successful blend of old and new, town and country, of families and businesses, and a celebration of Canadian, Jamaican achievements this Millennium Canada Day weekend. Sincerely, G.A. Krantz, Mayor. Hand for the Mayor, please. That's it. We also want to make another correction, which is not so much a correction, but to give to the occasion the respect which is due also to Mr. Herman Lamont, the Consul General, Jamaica's Consul General here in Toronto. He's been here almost as early as I had been, 11 o'clock this morning, and he has not had the occasion of addressing you personally. His address will be brief, but his long stay is an indication of the tremendous regard he has for not only his community, but for the event and the people being honored here today. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to present Mr. Lamont.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blake. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been a very wonderful day so far, and it gives me great pleasure to look down and see the two honorees, the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley, Order of Jamaica, Mr. Winston Blake, Order of Distinction, as two persons who we have come together to give due credit and honor for the work that they do, and I said do because it's still happening in the case of Mr. Blake, and certainly, even though Ms. Lou will not want to admit it, she still does do some things these days. But this occasion is very, very important, and we have to thank Ms. Carol Walker, the project director, and her team for the effort they put into this, their first annual Icons 2000, where they will be bringing tribute to all the persons who sometimes we tend to forget. This is one other occasion that we can have the opportunity to remember some of the people whose legacy we are living on, people who have given and continue to give, whether be it in the pop music system, business, or in the culture in a wider scope. We are here as beneficiaries of all those things. I don't want to keep you long because I know it's been tiring day, and not only that, but some very enjoyable things are coming up. And so I want to wish you all the best congratulate the honorees and wish that they have good health and continued long life, and that we all will be rooting for them and looking out for them on a daily basis, and we don't want them to feel we only remember them today. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good evening and enjoy yourself. I'll be here to see who isn't enjoying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamont. I hope all will enjoy this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, I hope you've had a chance of listening to the steel band on the outside. It's a beautiful steel band. It's comprised only of school children. It's a school steel band. As you know, the history of the steel band created out of Trinidad, over the struggle of the African Trinidadian people, when after the slavery was abolished, and the insistence of the people that they need to express themselves, looked around, had no other resources, and found this waste of the relics of the oil cartels hanging around, and decided to use them to create a musical instrument. Probably the only musical instrument of note created in the 20th century. We must make note of that. That's part of our culture. Let's hail the people of Trinidad and the steel band. And not only that, it was created and used by the people of Trinidad, created for the world. All children of all races, any place in the world, have access to this magical creation. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's culture at work. We wanted to know as well that before you came, and some of us came, that the young men at the back at the soccer field were playing competitively and in a friendly manner in celebration of this day, devoted to the tribute to our beloved Miss Lou and Winston Blake of baritone fame. And I'll later on find out what the results were in terms of the competition, and there will be awards for that as well. And I hope you've had the opportunity of enjoying the good food, and so you don't have to run out when things are happening here. We're going to keep it pretty tight. So ladies and gentlemen, we move forward. The first tribute, but before I say that, a reminder that I just want to give you a brief history of where this came from. It came out of community spirit. Carol Walker, who has brought this together today under Syria Enterprises and Reggae Canada. It came out of her community spirit over the many years she's been in this community, trying to put music creators together, trying to promote our music, and trying to make our cultural presence asserted and well in this society. Out of her work, part of the history, we know that it was her work through Syria, Jamaica Enterprises, Syria Entertainment or Enterprises, that brought a reggae component to Caribana for the first time. As part of the history, remember that. Carol Walker is the person who made that possible. Okay, let's hear it from Carol. Now, where Carol will take this day is something we can easily imagine, to greater heights and greater success. So before we honor the honorees, we want you to remember Carol Walker, the sister in the bar over there, behind this movement, bringing us together, bringing Canada together, bringing the culture together, giving us a podium, a platform so we can express ourselves, embrace one another, honor one another. Let's hear it for Carol. Now, I have a person who will be honoring Miss Lou poetically. She's a historian and poet. Her name is Dr. Afua Cooper. We have all worked together in the Toronto community for many years. And in saying that, most of us know who Miss Lou is, but this day is so special that we came to rush any tribute to her. We wanted to sink in. We want us to enjoy it. We may not see this day again. Well, certainly we won't see this day again. We may not have the opportunity of being in a room with Miss Lou like this again. We can never tell. I may be gone, Miss Lou may be gone, and you may be gone. So we want you to cherish it. We want you to know how much we respect Miss Lou and how much she means to our culture. Miss Lou has taught us many things. Miss Lou has taught us that this thing that we speak in Jamaica is a language. She will tell you, and she has always taught, that it is a language. Anything that anyone speaks, for so many years, for 400 years, after the abolition of slavery, trying to fool and the slave masters, Ms. Lou is fond of saying, is a language. And to demonstrate that, she has given us something we can remember. She says, it is the language that all Jamaicans understand. Most Jamaicans speak, and in which they can best express themselves. I'm quoting Ms. Lou. Okay. She left us this legacy. Ms. Lou, as you know, is the first, she had the first Caribbean show on the BBC in England in 1946, created out of the Jamaican culture. Yes. It's called Caribbean Carnival, right, Ms. Lou? In England, when someone is saying, what are they talking about? Do you understand what this lady is saying, what she's saying? Ms. Lou created out of the Jamaican language, making no apologies, but saying this, we're proud of this. This is coming out of a vibrant culture. We're going to take yours and mix it up and shake it out. And she did it on the BBC in England, 1946, which we had some of those tapes, and we can make some efforts. Maybe in the ensuing years, Carol Walker will bring on the stage some of that work Ms. Lou did in England. That's a challenge, and putting out to Carol now. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Lou also, she's accustomed to being first. And we know that Ms. Lou was founded by her husband sitting next to her, Mr. Covel, Eric Covel founded her. Yes, indeed. They called him Eric Talk. Covel. Yes, indeed. Yeah, and Talk Time. Dear person, sir. And he has had the great humility and wisdom to stand back and let Miss Lou take center stage. This is a marriage that not only worked, it's a marriage that was best crafted for success. That's the formula I wish I could have learned. And Mr. Coverley stood back. Miss Lou took the stage and mesmerized, taught Jamaica and the world, and still sitting down here humbly have us entranced, wondering, trying to remember what she said here and there, and hopefully we'll hear a word from her beautiful lips later on. This. So Miss Lou was also the first voice, one of the first creative Jamaican voices, along with the late, great Mas Ran, to be heard on the JBC radio when it opened in 1959. Yes, indeed. It was the Lou and Ronnie show. If you're from Jamaica, you remember that show. Funny as hell, indeed. And I'm sure Miss Lou miss Mas Ran as much as we do. Mas Ran was a funny man, a very funny man. And some of us may remember him, well, superficially as a funny man, but he was also a great actor. He was a great actor. You could find him in those Shakespearean plays as well. Miss Lou is far deeper than many people would like her to be. She has given to the Jamaican people and to the world an undeniable recognition of the fact that our language is sacred, our culture is sacred, and that we must respect it. And we will not forget her. Dead or alive, she is in our book #1. Miss Lou. Let's hear it from Miss Lou. Miss Lou also had the first television show in Jamaica, dealing with the culture in a serious way for 12 years, Ring Ding. You remember Ring Ding? Yes, she brought the little children together, made them happy. And if you remember, like the Art Little Letter show on radio, you hear these wonderful quips from these little children. Miss Lou had her own stories to tell about those magnificent children. And those of us who remember some of what we saw couldn't believe it. And there was nothing like it on radio. And they missed her very much when she had to leave. But that's what she has given to Jamaica, the confidence that we have a creative worth, that the word that we can be proud of, that we can take anywhere in the world and be proud of it. And we thank her for that. Now, I am not the person designated to give the tribute, And I feel I make no apologies for getting carried away and being long-winded as a master of ceremonies for Miss Lou today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll allow the person designated to do the tribute to Miss Lou to do her work. Hope that I have not trampled on any of her territory. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present to you Dr. Afua Cooper, historian and poet, one of the proud sisters in this northern part of the country, and she's still here. Afua, you're still here. Yes, indeed, here she comes. Let's hear it for Afua.
Thank you very much, Milton, for the introduction. And I thank everyone for coming out, especially the people we're honoring, the Honorable Louise Bennett Cloverly and Mr. Winston Blake, and we're very happy to see Mr. Cloverly here with us this afternoon. Of course, these are two distinguished Jamaicans, and these persons have made vast contributions to Jamaican culture, in Jamaica and abroad. I mean, when we think of Miss Lou, for example, affectionately called Miss Lou, Louise Bennett, she now lives in Toronto, for those of us who don't know. And I mean, one of my friends here told me tonight, the first time she saw Miss Lou was in New York City. So she has been making her contributions for a long time. Milton talked about her performing in Britain in the 40s. Louise Bennett Cloverly was born in Kingston, Jamaica. And earlier I said to her, Miss Lou, were you born in Kingston or St. Mary? Because somehow I had it in the back of my mind that she was born in St. Mary. And she said, no, it's my mother who was born in St. Mary. So I was glad that I checked that out with her. In the 40s, she went to England to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. And after her program was up, her studies were up, she performed all over Britain in theatre. She performed on the BBC. After she returned to Jamaica, she taught adults and youths drama, and then she began teaching at the University of the West Indies. We know Miss Lou as a poet and as a comedian, but in fact she has training in drama and theatre, and she has worked in those fields. On returning to Jamaica also, she continued her research in Jamaican culture and folklore. And she has been doing her thing, writing, teaching, performing, researching for over 60 years now. So it's such a vast and wonderful contribution. When Jamaica got its independence in 1962, the young nation looked around for an icon, for someone who could be that icon of, nationality, Jamaicanness really. And that person, the Jamaicanness that the young nation was searching for, was embodied in Miss Lou. She presented herself as a model upon which the young nation could sort of formulate its ideas and culture. Why was this? In the late 30s, from around that time, Louise Bennett began writing in Jamaican language. I think she published her first poem in the Jamaican Gleaner at a very young age 16, I think, or somewhere as a teenager. And she started from there writing in Jamaican language, in Jamaican Creole, in Jamaican Patois, nation language as some people prefer to call it. And by 1962, Jamaicans, the everyday Jamaicans, the masses of Jamaicans had embraced Miss Louise Bennett and the form that she was writing in. And we have to remember that she got a lot of fight, as we say in Jamaica. She got a lot of fight from the established literary establishment, the literati, who felt that you couldn't write literature, you couldn't write poetry in Jamaican speech, even though most people thought that way. Nonetheless, she pressed on, and I always say that we couldn't have a Bob Marley if Miss Lou wasn't there. Because when I listen Thank you. When I listen to some of Bob Marley's lyrics, for example, them belly full but them hungry, a hungry man is an angry man, a rain a fall but the dirty tough, a yata yuk but the youth not enough, a pata cook but the food not enough, is directly from Louise Bennett's poem called Dirty Tough. And I will read the last verse of Dirty Tough for you to see. Oh, Bob, I'm not saying Bob plagiarized. Of course not, because it's an oral tradition, and everybody kind of have that. We have the tradition in our blood. So, you know, Miss Lou said one thing, and somebody might have said before her, and Bob come and say it again. Hello. Here is the last verse of Dirty Tough. Sun a shine and pot a boil. But things no bright, people no know. Rain a fall, river the flood, but water scarce and dirty tough. It's almost Bob took these words word for word and make him song. But that's all right still, because it's just one people, and like I said, it's an oral tradition which we all have in our blood. Rex Nettleford, the Jamaican professor and author, you know Rex Nettleford, he describes her as an entertainer, a literary figure, and a documenter of aspects of Jamaican life, thought, and feelings. And he is very, very correct, because like I said earlier, she's not just a poet or a comedian, but a researcher, a historian. When you look at Miss Lou's poems from the early days, and I have her book here, Jamaica Labrish, Jamaican dialect poems written by Louise Bennett with the introduction by Rex Nettleford. When you look at the poems, you could see what was happening in the 30s. From reading the poems, I learned of a bad Jamaican criminal called, what name again, Rygin? I never knew. I read the poem Rygin, and I said, Ratty, this is like copper. For those of us who grew up in the 70s and remember this bad gunman who was shooting people named Copper. Well, Copper had his father or grandfather in the 30s, or fathered by a man named Rygin. Miss Lou wrote about him, independence. Miss Lou wrote about us, Jamaican people, migrating, going to Britain, going all over the world, and how some of us, when we go to foreign, we pass white. I mean, she talked about this girl who, her mother, proud that she gone on foreign, and the voice in the poem is saying, yeah, but the girl that passed white, because she got England and people think that she white, you know, because she was a light-skinned Jamaican. You kind of know and get what's happening in the country from reading the poems. But as I said earlier, it was not without a struggle. To this day, if you talk in Jamaican language, in certain contexts to certain people, them look down upon you. Like them say, you might have sent you a good school and you talk so. Which is so unfortunate, because that is how most Jamaican talk. And that is why, like I said, without a Miss Lou, we couldn't have a Bob Marley. And again, it all leads back to the Rastafarian tradition, because Rasta people in Jamaica have brought such, you know, how do I describe it? Such feeling of pride and identity for us to embrace our language. So it's that long tradition coming from the days of, you know, Paul Bogle and Nanny, to Marcus Garvey, to Louise Bennett, to the Rasta tradition, to Bob Marley, to Muta Baruka, and all those people who said, yes, it's ours, and we have to embrace it. We love English. English is our language too. We have two languages. Let's use both of them, but don't put down one and elevate the other. And the other thing with Jamaican people, many Jamaican people don't even talk English properly or good, if you want to say that, which is fine, which is excellent. But we are fluent in Jamaican speech, so let us use that, let us embrace it, and that is what Miss Lou has given us. Growing up personally with Miss Lou, I feel like I know Miss Lou from the day I was born. Like she was this wonderful auntie, you know? Because growing up in Kingston, we all were exposed to ring-ding program. Most of us who went to primary school in Kingston and the rest of Jamaica participated in the national festivals where you go to Liquor Theatre or War Theatre, whichever theatre we used to go, and recite the poems. And we recited Louise Bennett's poem. So, I think it's so good doing this tribute, because because it's like somebody we know from long, long time. I'm just gonna read briefly from a book called Utterances and Incantations, Women, Poetry and Dub, which is anthologized by myself. It has the works of 11 female dub poets, including Afua Cooper and Louise Bennett. And dub poets treasure Miss Lou, because we said without a Miss Lou and without reggae music, you wouldn't have dub poetry. And this is what I say about Louise Bennett. Louise Bennett, named by several dub poets as a great inspirator and hailed as a forerunner of dub poetry by many, has made an immense contribution to dub poetry. Long before dub poetry emerged as an art form, Bennett was one of the first Caribbean New World artists to use Creole as a literary language. She wrote in Creole and published her poems and books in nation language. The literati derided her for doing so, for after all, Jamaican speech, in their opinion, was not real language, but a bastard tongue, according to Rex Middleton. It was not good enough to be written down and published, and could not properly express complex thought, or so they said. Louise Bennett took no notice of her detractors and pressed on. She performed her poems, kept writing in Jamaican language, and published her work. She gave legitimacy to poor people's speech, to black people talk, by actually writing it down. Today she is hailed as a pioneer, an innovator, and a legend. But in the tradition of her ancestresses, she is a mourner, a woman gifted with foresight, a woman gifted with insight. And Miss Lou, this poem is for you, and it's from this book called Utterances and Incantations. It's called The Child is Alive. And there's a woman in the poem that I think to Queen Nanny of the Jamaican Maroons, the woman who actually cut the other woman belly and took out the picnic. You will hear it in the poem. The child is alive. It is set on a slave plantation somewhere in the New World. And the woman who is highly pregnant, she runs away. She's caught. She's given 100 lashes for her punishment. Of course, she dies, and another woman decides to liberate the child from her womb. And a niece of Granny Nanny, and a kind woman, a woman who can see far, a woman with the knowledge of herbs, a woman who works in the field cutting cane, a woman who speaks the language of her grandmothers, a woman who tells stories of magical animals, of talking trees, and of fabled cities beneath mighty rivers, a woman who was raped on a ship by a sailor, a woman who was stolen from her village when she was 14. This woman, this niece of Granny Nanny, runs with her cutlass. This woman runs with her machete, an ancient chant rising from her throat, an ancient chant imploring God and all the spirits that attend women in childbirth to come to her aid. She calls her companions. Form a circle around the dead woman. Breathe, breathe deeply, give her breath, give her life. This woman, this niece of Granny Nanny, enters the circle with her cutlass, the ancient chant leaping from her lips, cuts open the belly of the dead woman, and releases the child. Oh, praises to our ancestors. The child is alive. Oh, Onyame, take the spirit of the mother. Praise to the ancestors. In the midst of misery and pain, in the midst of this humiliation and grief, praises, because the child lives. Oh, Onyame, take the spirit of the mother. This woman, this niece of Granny Nanny, this ancient midwife, dances with the child, dances, spins. She dances like the priestess she would have been had not slavery stolen her away from her people. She holds the child up to the sky. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Oh, praises, the child is alive. Oh, Onyame, take the spirit of the mother. Praises, the child is alive. Why? 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 The child is alive. Thank you very much. That is what Miss Lou has inspired in us Jamaican people. I will end with one of her poems, Dirty Talk, subtitled The Ground is Hard. Do a pataboy, bickle enough. River flood, but water scarce, yeah. Rain a fall, but dirty tough. Things so bad that no one is when you ask somebody how them do. Them free and you take it and tell them back, so them not answer you. Don't care how much we the work for. Hard times still in our shut. We they fight hard times are beat with. They might raise the wages, but £1 one on par with pay. And we no feel no merriment for £10 one on par with food and £10 have to pay with rent. Saltfish gone up, mackerel gone up, pork and beef gone up. And when rice and butter ready, them just gone for holiday. Cloth, boot, pin, and needle gone up. Ice bread, taxes, water rate, kerosene oil, gasoline gone up, and the pound or the dollar devaluate. The price of bread gone so high that we have to agree to cut we like and bread and all, and turn dumpling refugees. And the marga smaddy with a one like fat is sin. All them there with a fast with me, I left them to dumpling. Sun a shine on Pataboy, but things no bright. Pickle no enough, rain a fall, river they flood, but water scarce, and guess what? Dirty tough. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Lou.
Credit to the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley. Before I announce the next person designated to give tribute, I'd just like to announce that we have, midst just now, Mr. Dudley Laws with us. I want to hear from Mr. Dudley Laws. Miss Lou, Mrs. Louise Bennett Coverley, OJ. And to do the honors, ladies and gentlemen, this giant of our culture, as we celebrate this Sunday afternoon, this Canada weekend, we want to, for the records again, state clearly that we love her, we admire her work, we will ensure that we pass on some of what we can to our children to make them wherever they are born, if our children are born here or anywhere, to let them know that this language we speak in Jamaica is a language, something for us to be proud of. She has made us proud of it. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask Fenton Gordon to make the presentations to Miss Lou. Fenton.
I'd like to thank you, Ms. Bennett, and give you this on behalf of Seaweed Entertainment and it's addressed the Icon 2000 Award to the Honorable Ms. Louise Bennett. Recognition for monumentous contribution to the Jamaican cultural development, July 2nd, 2000. and Syria Entertainment and www.reggae.com would like to present you with this.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, yeah.
Speak here, Mr.
What is I must say, yeah? What a pretty scent. I don't have my face. I never know my face, it's not pretty. Yes, my dear, and somebody said my voice sounds here. I said, yes, it's true. Me can't last. Well, I want to thank everybody here for the wonderful welcome I've got in Milton today. Up to yesterday, Milton was like somebody name or them say it cut off a Hamilton. We never know. So it's a nice place where people can come and enjoy themselves like how we enjoy themselves today. And all the people and all the joy that I've had today with just meeting so many happy, good Jamaican people. And not only Jamaica, but people. But the Jamaicans, I think this now have to talk about Jamaica. You don't mind if I praise them? Yes, I have to praise them. Because the whole of this happened through the people, the Jamaican people. They did proverbs. When trouble take man, pick me boot fitting. The same thing about rain or fall but dirty too. You see the ground hard. I see that dirty, that comes from the Ashanti people, who were the first set of Africans who came to Jamaica, and the dirty is not the, oh my gosh. My auntie Roger said, it's corruption of the English language. Because they mean to say dirty. And not true. Dirty means ground. And dirty tough, the ground hard. You see? So the rain can be falling. Things might look good, but why? Dirty, tough. You see? Now, my auntie Roger, she really thinks anytime she hears anybody style for the Jamaican language as corruption of the English language. She says she don't know whether they call the English language corruption of the Norman French and the Latin and the Greek, where they say English is derived from. How come English derived and we corrupt? Auntie Roger said, no, we derive too. Yes, we derive from plenty the Spanish and the French and all the people that lived there. And the English, plenty English. And I'll do plenty English in a derivation. My dear, if we don't want the Englishman, if you understand what we are saying, then God. My auntie Roger said that the whole business starts from when the English was a muscle bound. The African people then, they talk so English. So the African then talk them. They mix up the English here and the African in such a way that they still couldn't understand. So they say that they are corrupting the language. But dear child, I must circle here because when the English people say, they want to say little words like, something is sweet or good. Oh, it is sweet. We say, bolononos. You know? And little things like, you, take a little word like, why are you? When they if they want to talk about one somebody, it's you. If they want to talk about 100 somebody, it's you. But when we talk about one somebody, we say you. And if it's more than one somebody, we say, oh no! We don't want to work when we talk about corruption. We say we have a language that derived from all the other different languages that have anything to do with that, they have anything to do with it, because we had quick and all them sitting there. So we listen and we mix up, same like how they mix up and then they derive. Because you see, people now they like to talk about their salary instead of them pay. The word salary come from salt money. That come from, I saw the English change up salt money and turn it in a salary. And we turn it in and then do it. And it's all that of the words that you're talking in, see calling the sweet words. They come from other different languages, derived. You see? So we have a whole lot of that. We're not going to say, the English would say, she got stuck by a prickle. They like make things more to her. We just said like a joke. So, and the language sweet. It's nice. My aunt wrote to say, when the Asian culture and the European culture buck up on African culture in the Caribbean people, we stir them up and blend them to a flavor. We shake them up and move them to a beat. We wheel them and we turn them and we rock them and we sound them and we tempo them and dance the rhythm is sweet. And the rhythm is sweet, the rhythm of the I can't stand up here too long because you see, don't bother think that I don't have a, well, because my doctor called me this morning and said, well, you have a respiratory. You cannot stay too long in the so I tell him thanks and I'm not going to next thing he said, I told her. I warned her. Anyhow, so now, at this stage, I can't stay long with you. But I will tell you about our language and the great impression it has had on my whole career. I built my whole career out of talking like my people, like my grandmother, who used to tell me all their Nancy stories. And she used to sing me the folk songs. And then after her, and I know we have nice songs about river and things. And all we could sing is, flow gently, sweet afternoon. And it's a nice song. And sweet afternoon, but I didn't know what was sweet afternoon. And then I learned like, the river bank comes down, the river bank comes down, you know, it's about the river again. And we have a whole lot of songs about rivers and things and all beautiful things. But we're not going out of that here, so, because we have to go because we have medicine to go to Toronto to take. Yes, so we can't stay. But before we go, we have to tell you little things that my grandmother got from her great-grandmother or something, who was 11 years old when slavery was abolished. So she knew all about this. And one little song that the ringing children, I used to teach them, and they used to love to dance it. She said that during the Emancipation Day, when a lot of people were so happy, and some were singing, freedom, freedom, Mrs. Queen, the freedom. Some were singing, the buggy broke, the buggy broke, the buggy broke, and the horse fall down. The buggy broke and the horse fall down. The mighty has fallen. And least we can start to do something on our own. So a lot of wonderful things. I can't go into our history and our folklore now, but it's something that we should know about, that our children should know about, and so I write that in my verses, in my stories and all that. And now this song, my grandmother never liked to say goodbye. She used to say, walk good. And a lot of us still say it. I still tell people, walk good. And so I have a little walk good song. I want you to just join me with that. And when I do like this, you say walk good, okay? Walk good on your way and good Duppy walk with you. Now I must tell you, a lot of people think Duppy is a bad ghost. Now you have good Duppy and bad Duppy. You see? All right. Walk good on your way and good Duppy walk with you. Walk good every day and good Duppy walk with you. Walk good every day, walk good on your way. Walk good, good follow you, if you just walk good. Walk good.
As wonderful of a person as Miss Lowe is, we would not have known her professionally had it not been for her husband, Eric Coverley. Let's hear it from Mr. Coverley.
I'm sorry to prolong, seeing that I tell you walk good. But Eric, a lot of people thought I was married to Ronnie.
Yes.
Because of the Noel Ronnie show. But I was always married to Eric Coverley. 3 weeks ago, we tried to celebrate our 46th wedding anniversary. I had to just tease him about the proposal. When we got married in New York, because we were in New York, and he lived in Manhattan, and I lived in Brooklyn, but he was very sort of, polite and all that. So if we take a train, he would follow me on the train, and then I come off the train, and then he follows me to the door, and then he goes, and one night we are coming to the train, and he says, Louise, you know that some nights, when I leave you, and I go back on the train, I drop asleep and pass the stop. Louise, it looked like I would love to marry you. I said, what? I said, that could never be a proposal for me. And he begged me pardon.
Thank you, Miss Lou. Look at that. Such love and affection, such respect. Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, such energy in her declining years, and yet you can still feel the energy. Her mind is still kicking, and she's still entertaining. We hope that her knees will hold up, that we can see her on stage time and time again. Yes, indeed, she has it in her. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it one more time for the great Miss Lou.